Was that the quietest modern Star Trek day ever? Episode 367 of Trekland Tuesdays live with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and yes, through Trekland Tracks. Your home for getting a customized, you make it, I help you, your own customized away mission around Greater SoCal to 4 location filming sites from all the Star Treks filmed in SoCal. What a great, awesome 6-hour day we'll have. Check it all out at treklandtreks.com because, you know, this heat wave is finally breaking. We're going to have an awesome fall and winter and spring. You should plan your trip to LA accordingly. Yes. We're here at Trekland Tuesdays Live, which is your home for clarity, sanity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. And today, we're still in this kind of subdued, quiet time. I mean, hey, football's back, American football, on both college and pro level. It's fall, kids are back to school. A lot of kids have been back in school in the States since the middle of August. But it's definitely getting on down the line. Hey, we're in the height of fire season here, and oh my God, I have an orange glow outside my window, not from anything close by, just, you know, maybe 30, 40 miles away, 50 miles away. And then there's an orange glow coming from all things political right now. But here in Star Trek world, we just celebrate another Star Trek day. If you didn't miss it, did you blink? Were you distracted? Did you do an extra long grocery shopping run and miss it? Did you finally complete the sheetrocking on your door wall and miss it? I don't blame you. This has been one of the lightest of, I say, the modern Star Trek days. And you know what Star Trek is? Star Trek is just the anniversary of the first airing of the first Star Trek episode, which obviously was the original series on September 8th, 1966. I don't have to tell you all that. What I do have to say from time to time is, yes, I know for nearly 10 years now, we've all realized that it aired when no one cared and no one was looking. There was no master promotional playbook that anybody got their knickers in a twist over. Canada's independent network did buy it and then show it when they wanted to show it on September 6th. So, like everything else, Canada has to have their own day for everything, their own Independence Day, their own Thanksgiving. I'm kidding. And they have their own Star Trek Day 2 days early. But for most of the world, we celebrate it on 9/8/66 or 8/9/66 for all of you non-Americans. Happy 7 of 9 Day or 9 of 7 Day or whatever you celebrate too. It's Star Trek Day. And since the ramp up of the modern era of modern Star Trek through the streaming days, coupled with the rise of social media, which didn't exist during the original series, much less the Berman era. I mean, we had message boards, but that was about it. Well, you know, I tell you about we had email. We had email and message boards, and that was about it. I think MySpace was just starting to get going by the time Enterprise was canceled. 2005-ish? I know my first Facebook got a board in 2007, I believe. But that's the thing. We've had modern Star Trek Day, Star Trek's birthday, basically, just the last 8 or 10 years. And yes, this is even in the pandemic, considering they took steps to make sure to celebrate. And when I say celebrate, what are we talking about? We're talking about the corporate world. We're talking about the studio with shows to sell and promote, spending bucks on having big events. Now, this bit of, for Star Trek Day, which, I don't know, when I was a kid and growing up and Star Trek was so in-house, it was not a big deal. The geeks had not won yet. And we would just say, happy Star Trek birthday or happy birthday, Star Trek. That's what we would say to the people you knew. It was like a secret sign. It was way more secret even than, LLNP. And it was not even all the Star Trek folks, fans that you knew, realized what September 8th was. But it was a little in-house thing. What's funny is, remember, fans and the private sector kind of generated any commemoration of Star Trek. I mean, I was there. I know. I was not a first-gen fan, but I was a rerun fan. And I remember, with all the hoopla about the bicentennial, the 200th birthday of the Declaration of Independence in 76, which was a huge thing. And before Star Wars, we were all gagging over the bicentennial toilet paper, bicentennial sheets, bicentennial, forget it. 1976 was also the 10th anniversary of Star Trek's premiere. And Lincoln Enterprises, Gene and Magel's company, was so they put out the catalog. It's buried right now, but I would show you. You can find it online. The Star Trek-tennial. This is the bicentennial, the Star Trek-tennial. And it had nothing to do with 10, but it was clever, right? They had a medallion, had a few T-shirts. That was it. And it only existed in the pages of Lincoln Enterprises' little 2-color catalog on newsprint, and some fans that picked up the banner, right? And then the 15th anniversary was 81. There were at least movies, we were in between movies, and there was not much to celebrate, to tie in, but people, I don't know if anybody marked the 15th or not. But the 20th anniversary, and notice we're talking about like marking officially the 5-year interval, the 5s and 0s years, right? The anniversaries. Studio 86 was the year everything changed. It was the first time the studio marked an anniversary, the 20th, because two things. Star Trek IV coming out was turning into be a blockbuster, the biggest movie so far for pre-movie excitement that they knew. And they built it up, they boosted its signal as soon as they saw the dailies coming in and got it more global. It was the biggest global Star Trek movie to date. They loved it in Moscow. The bureaucratic mentality is all that. And it was also the time of finally answering the local stations and fans and coming out with more Star Trek on TV, except instead of the old cast, it was going to be a whole new bunch of people at a different time period in Star Trek's history. Not a reboot, but a continuation of the universe, which was a completely new paradigm for people. But 86 was the first year. And then we had every 5 years, the studio would commission another artist to do a new logo for every 5-year anniversary. And yeah, the 25th was marked by Star Trek VI and also Spock being on The Next Generation. That was the big 25th anniversary thing and other stuff. I mean, I remember there was a big movie marathon, and it wasn't Fathom. This was pre-Fathom. But on the same night, Paramount had all 6 original movies in a theater. Of course, we always took our dinner break during Star Trek V. But I remember going to the big 25th anniversary movie marathon. They had a special pin. I mean, what did you do in the pre-internet days, in the pre-digital days? That's what you did for stuff. Everything had to be real world and hardcore. And that was the 25th. And then by the 30th anniversary, we got special episodes of the series by then. Trials and Tribulations on DS9, Flashback on Voyager. Those were 30th anniversary specials in 96. And then in 01, well, we got debut of a new series-ish. And you know what? September 11th, 9/11 was just 3 days after anybody that was trying to celebrate the 35th anniversary. Yeah. Which was happening with the first big convention in Las Vegas, and not by creation, but by Slanted Fedora. Just before they imploded. Not at the Hilton, where the Experience was, but just slightly across town. At a one level, at a ranch-style big motel. But there was a 35th anniversary convention 3 days before 9/11, not planned. And that was kind of the big deal. And everybody being excited for Enterprise about to debut. And then the 40th, was another celebrated bits and pieces. People getting savvier, the studio getting a little smarter about, hey, we should market this, promote it. But, the 40th was in 2006, and everybody was a little down, but at the same time had just heard about this movie coming. So, hey, Star Trek isn't dead yet, you pundits. It won't be dead for 20 years. There's a movie coming. Well, that was a long story. And then by 2011 was the 45th. Yeah, okay, a new logo, some stuff, but yeah, we're still in the fallow times and feeling it, and feeling people got the message what it was like to be between movies. when you have movies only and you've got to sit through 2 or 3 years of nothingness as far as official on canon on film, sit down and watch New Adventures for real. Don't get yourself by with just a book or just a comic that might go away in importance later on. And then the 50th. And we had an announcement of a new series, which was huge. But the 50th was 50. Look, I remember realizing about the 45th or 40. I was actually about 2 years early. I did the math in my head. A 30th anniversary was nothing. A 40th anniversary was nothing. A 37th. But the day I realized I did the math, I went, oh my God, the next one is going to be the 50th. The 50th. I had the same thought that lots of fans, lots of merchandisers, and the studio itself had. We're on the way back with a show, at least on 9 months' notice, right? November of 2015. We had notice of a return, which was something to celebrate, even as people wondered exactly what that would look like. But Star Trek sure wasn't dead, and that was kind of the point. It was celebrating the old and celebrating the current and the new. And the 50th was 50 fever. Everything was crazy for the 50th, right? So we celebrated. The 55th, not so much. I'm sure there was a logo made. What was that? In 2021. But we were in pandemic times, and everything was shifting to virtual. Thank goodness, as I predicted right here, Zoom and virtual will help us survive. I didn't think about all of society, much less fandom, but it helped us keep going. And now we're coming up on the 60th anniversary, and there'll be stuff. There'll be stuff. But meanwhile, now that we've got a whole franchise blooming since the 50th, Star Trek Day, in fact, the first time I remember hearing it called Star Trek Day was that, you remember the promo they ran before Discovery? They had the whole cast in natural garb, just one after the other in Instagram squares, just saying, Happy Star Trek Day. They had it framed. I can hear everybody saying, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek Day. I can still see Mary Chieffo's cheerful face being the biggest of all, the most cheerful of all. And I remember thinking, oh, so it's not Star Trek birthday or Star Trek anniversary. Now it's just Star Trek Day. Okay, it's a thing. We're going to make it a thing like First Contact Day. Star Trek's going to have two bigly commemorated days. Okay, sure. And as the studio backed up promoting this new series and this new string of series, this whole new franchise, part 3, third wave, it became a thing. Star Trek Day became a thing. And, you had 2017s and 2018s and 2019s with trying to do live events and things, and then and having one in New York, not just LA. And then we get the pandemic and COVID, and we switch the first big live one went virtual. And that was amazing. It was amazing. But you had actors involved. They actually let a writer or two, I think, on camera. Don't know about any behind the scenesers, but it's all actors all the time. And the next year, we were coming out of COVID, 21, and there was a very hesitant live show in LA I remember going to. And then 2022, I stayed home, but there was a live show. There was a little bit of a train wreck, and the amazing Tawny Newsome co-hosting kind of stage manage on the fly in real time. And now it's time for our next panel, as this one, I'll never forget that. And the DJ, she was cueing it was sad. She was amazing. I would follow that woman off I can't wait to work with her at the cruise. I totally trust her with everything. Comedy, everything, anything right now, after I saw what she did in real time there. But yes, the point being that since the modern times, and I'm going to say 2017 onward, Star Trek Day has been, let's face it, a big billboard, a big commercial vehicle. Now, I'm saying that's what it's been in the eyes of the studio. Fan-wise, the same fans who were saying, Happy Star Trek Day, Happy Star Trek birthday, Happy birthday, Star Trek, to each other in the 80s, and the 90s, and the aughts, and the early teens, we've all gone right along. We've all gone right along. So this year, between the combination of so many new Star Treks having gone out the window, they're down. They're done for. Lower Decks is done for, except we haven't seen the last of it yet. But we're cycling through these. Is Prodigy done for? I hope not. Are any of these done? But Discovery's gone. Picard is gone while we wait 3 or 4 years for Legacy. Maybe. There's not a big push of new stuff. And the stuff that is new and coming isn't ready to be seen yet. It's already been sneak peeked as much as it could be. We did get this year, we got the teaser trailer and a sneak peek scene from Lower Decks. Just like we got a sneak peek scene and a trailer for Strange New Worlds, Season 3, at Comic-Con. But Comic-Con had all the big news headlines. There wasn't very much left over for Star Trek Day, which in the most commercial crass sense now exists as it's been built up now. It doesn't exist for this, but it's certainly been appropriated in a good way by the studio to promote. It's their own day. They can't control all the news. They have to share the spotlight at Comic-Con. And even if they were licensing conventions with Reed Pop, much less Creation Vegas, those are not vehicles anymore. The only thing they've got now are the days they could, and they can announce something on First Contact Day, but I don't think they feel like, I think they still feel like that's kind of fan driven. But Star Trek Day, if anything, it's the debut of the series, it's the debut of the franchise, and they feel like that's their marketing. And they've got the spotlight on, it's nobody else's day. Of course, for First Contact Day is nobody else's day either. In a lot of ways, the Star Trek Day we have grown to expect didn't exist this year. No real new shows to promote or to promote yet. Doing all they can do. And the other big elephant in the room is the Paramount changeover. There's a lot of unsteadiness about what's going on. And most of all, it hits home where, and I feel sorry about this because I've worked with some of these people, the marketing and the social media aspects, public relations, all of that, media relations, they're all waiting to see how the Paramount merger cuts hit. There's still CBS and CBS.com people in amongst the Paramount and Paramount Plus. And how does all that shake down? And maybe they lose a lot of bodies. Well, it may have already happened in a big way. I haven't been scouting the interwebs, but my point here is, yes, we had Star Trek Day events and activities, but no live and not even any virtual, not even any pre-recorded, hey, here's Jerry O'Connell narrating something else. Last year was also in the middle of the strikes, coming out of the strikes, and there was some pre-recorded footage by very far-thinking people. And that's where we got Jerry O'Connell's little narrated dialogue. But so many folks were in the strikes that we didn't have much of a Star Trek Day last year. But we understood that. And still there was something. Now, there was something this year too. And I'm glad. Online, there was this whole Take the Chair campaign. Take the chair and get your captain. It was very, very activist, very volunteerism oriented. And that's great. They partnered with 3 folks, and one of them being DoSomething.com, which existed beyond way before the last couple of months. It's not as much as Kamala Harris used that in her convention acceptance speech, and the speech before that. Do Something has existed. DoSomething.org. Code.org is a group that's giving K-12 students the opportunity to learn computer science and keep up with the new economy, in case they hadn't realized it. DoSomething.org is just encouraging young people to take on all kinds of volunteerism, do-gooderism, right in the Star Trek vein. And Outright International is the 3rd charity they partnered with, advocating for LGBTQ inclusion and equality globally. So the Take the Chair, and you can still get it. Now, all these links and programs have now mostly disappeared. The coolest, most active bits are not on the homepage of StarTrek.com anymore, but they're still up. If you go to StarTrek.com/mission generator, you will see the captain's mission, And all they do is they say, do you want to explore and be scientific, or would you rather assist those in need? And once you, let's say, explore and scientific study, then you get, do you want to devise a logical solution that prioritizes the needs of the many? Or do you want to stand up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming odds? These are all Star Trek themes. And they've organized this little quiz to take you down a path. Let's say stand up for the rights of, okay, where are you going to be found on the ship? On the bridge, ready to rise when the mission calls for it, or intend forward, boosting the morale of friends and colleagues? Anyway, and if you say by the time you've gone there, you get a little custom, mostly customized thing with some ideas to send you to all three of the charities. Code.org, which is about coding, literally, for kids, for students. DoSomething.org, and Outright International. So it gets you through that. And I'm hoping that, yeah, the Zers out there and the Alphas, sure, we can come up with a better name than Generation Alpha. Hoping a lot of folks on the younger end of the spectrum, a lot of our younger fans saw that. Now, if you go to StarTrek.com, that was what you could actually still get at StarTrek.com if you knew the secret follow-ons. But you could still go to DoSomething.org for one, and they still have a front page link to Star Trek Day. Otherwise, it's star-trek-day. And you can take the chair, make an impact. There's a video. They've got the quote here, "We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity, Captain Picard." Gosh, that's so good. Maybe we should have used that on Life Support Live for 2 years for our opening. Yes, we did. There's a big emphasis here on be safety and well-being, be an advocate for mental health. It's not all in your head. Gun violence is a public health crisis, if you want to get involved in any of those. And then equality and justice, equity and justice, the art of community, tackling hunger, and power to the period, about power sources. And then climate and sustainability. Get the filter out, come back, clothes recycling. Choose your own service adventure. I mean, they're just really encouraging, with these partners, and to go down all this very different paths to encourage that, which is awesome. And the other aspect of Star Trek Day was if you hashtag Star Trek United Gives, CBS would give $1 per every tweet with that hashtag to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the Education Fund, or the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering, and the Equal Justice Initiative. But again, these have all been, way under publicized. I'd be willing to try it today to see if it's still working today. Other than that, there was a sprinkling of products, which are still up. There was a couple of good historical features officially at StarTrek.com, but that was it. No live show, and not even, and the free pilots, the free premieres of all the series on Paramount Plus this week. You could watch all the number one shows of all the series, old and new, for free. And okay, but that was it. So yeah, I didn't hear a lot about it. Now, I've been in a tunnel between just keeping my status quo shows and guests churning and getting work done here at the house with our wall, which you can't tell, but it's totally blocked off now. Just have one more piece of sheetrock to put up. I did celebrate Star Trek Day in a very small way myself. I finally did my photo dump from STLV. So part 1 and part 2 and part 3 batches of moments and selfies and cosplay are coming. So check that out. Yeah, on my Instas, probably the best place. And, follow while you're there. That'd be great. It feels like the whole world was a little distracted. But I'm just going to say that on the big time side for Star Trek Day, they were distracted. They were distracted by being in a weird place between retiring shows and new shows. And thank goodness there's Lower Decks. And all the question marks about what's going on. Is there a big shakeup? How much do we invest? Probably there's not a lot of budget for it, yada, yada. Certainly not a live show. I think they shot that wad at Comic-Con. And there's not enough to utilize having their own marketing day. and just all the question marks about the future of about the Paramount, and Paramount Plus as a streamer, much less the franchise will go on. We're not going back to the 12 years without. We're not going back to the original 10 years of you have to prove yourself. So yeah, on the surface, it felt like a quiet Star Trek day. But I know that didn't stop. Back to the grassroots, back the way it used to be when nobody with a budget cared. It was fans. It was us keeping the day alive, celebrating, marking the day, whether they were taking part in all this provided virtual low-key content, or whether it was folks having, I know the old school Angela's here in LA, Starfleet Club had a party. I know Dr. Dave's UFP in Phoenix had parties. I know that happened. I'm sorry, I didn't mention the meetups. There were the pop-ups, take the chair. So if you were in Greater Vancouver or Greater New York or Greater Chicago, I think, you had the chance to get down, sit in the chair, deal with 3 hired folks for the day. Maybe you were lucky enough to see Sonequa take the chair in one of them. Maybe you got to do that live, and they went for that. So yay. And yay, Canada got Vancouver. Toronto was spared getting one more cool thing. But, nothing in LA, nothing in the South, nothing in Vegas. But okay, they sprung for 3 live pop-ups. I should have mentioned that. Other than that, it was all on us. It was all on fandom. So that's my question. It was, by any definition, a quieter day unless you were busy throwing your own Star Trek party. So I'm just curious. So our live bunch here, or if you're watching us later, make sure and sound off with that, would you? Did you do anything for Star Trek Day? Did you just get a couple of friends? Did you sit home yourself and celebrate something totally on your own, or just with your little nuclear family? Just to say you did, just to be in the spirit of things. I saw lots of folks commenting online that they were going to watch this, they were going to watch that. A lot of people are still mourning Jimmy Darren's loss, and they might have put on Bada Bing, Bada Bang to celebrate, or His Way, or even Only a Paper Moon to celebrate. It's Only a Paper Moon with Nog's PTSD episode with Vic as his counselor. So yeah, I think it was the quietest modern Star Trek day, at least since we started calling it Star Trek Day and not Happy Star Trek Birthday or Happy Star Trek Anniversary. What did you do? I'd be curious to see. Again, in the comments later, if not here live. Oh, Linda, you went to the pop-up in Grant Park. Totally underwhelming, but the staff couldn't have been nicer. That's what I got from Jessica's video that she did for Roddenberry. All 3 red shirts, there were 3 of them, took your pick in the chair and interviewed you. You were the only fan there. They were collecting video. They were so under promoted. I don't know what the local publicity was, but so there you go. A little brief history of Star Trek Day and Star Trek anniversaries. Tell me what you think. Meanwhile, we're still sitting here. We're waiting on the debut of Lower Decks next month. We're waiting on, and I hope you're still doing this, like their own little celebration of Star Trek Day, the Prodigy Room writers with that pizza party that was crowdfunded by Prodigy fans, thanking them no matter what happens for season 3. And Aaron Walke and some of the rest of them socializing about that and urging everybody to go watch Prodigy, celebrate Star Trek Day with a go watch Prodigy, and share your pictures there. So there was an invented way to celebrate that came from quasi on high, but still was very grassroots. In fact, that was fan driven with the pizza party. The writers were only too happy to pick up on it and tweeted and hashtagged about that. So everybody's celebrating in their own way. It'd be great to have word about a Prodigy season 3. It'd be great to have word about if and when something happens for any assortment of the Lower Decks characters. But that's not going to happen until the 5th season runs its course. And meanwhile, Starfleet Academy is shooting And meanwhile, we're waiting to see when they're going to schedule the airing, the premiere of Section 31, and finally letting the world decide if they've been cautiously optimistic in a quirky way for a good reason. The messiest Star Trek, we heard. The way Kurtzman described it at Comic-Con, the messiest Star Trek. Or are people who are dreading it going to have their worst fears confirmed? When we're going to get to that point, we don't know yet. Late this year or early next, we'll see. So it's not like it's a Star Trek day that had nothing to talk about. It was just a Star Trek day that didn't have tons of things to talk about except celebrating the fact that Star Trek, for whenever you came to it, for whatever you get out of it, whatever your first was and whatever your favorite has turned into, we've still got Star Trek. And we're two years away from the 60th anniversary. Unless, of course, and I can't believe it's been 10 years since I said this, you want to start the party early? You want to start the 6-0 party early? The Cage is 60 years old this year. They were certainly in the middle of madcap planning it. They shot it in December of 64, but it had been a concern and being sold and budgeted and, oh my gosh, revolutionized all through the spring and summer and fall before that shoot. Get your classic Making a Star Trek book and catch up on the story. Or watch the Great Center Seat documentary, 10-part documentary, now available on Prime. They've got all kinds of intelligent people talking on camera all the way through it, with the great Gates McFadden as the narrator. All right, so a belated 2 days later, happy Star Trek Day to everybody. And yes, if you celebrate it in your own way, small or large, let us know. And if you're watching us later, feel free to talk about the whole Star Trek Day situation the way you saw it, and if you partied, hardy or not. Hey, TreklandTreks.com. We're here to serve you whenever you're on your way to LA for business or pleasure. You got that spare day? I think Star Trek fans are entitled to take a tour as much as anybody else in Hollywood. So get in touch. We'll work out the details, all right? And then if it's a Tuesday live, that means I've got a lot of folks to thank for helping us out to do this every week. So on my Patreon, our TTL Club, thank you, Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Lawrence Todd, Halbjörn Gunnjonsson, Glinda Bruton, Andrew Jazimski, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins, Keith Rombach, and Comedy Forecast. It's like messing with that one. And our live wires. Thank you to Rob McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Alan Hoensi, James, and Dave Gregory, Greg Wickstrom, and Casey Shafsky. And I say that, got a very, very simple Patreon, just $5 and $10 a level. Patreon.com/TreklandLive. Now, notice this, in another month or two, if you use the app, don't. If you want to join my Patreon, use the website. If you have an iPhone, don't ever use the app. I don't know anybody that uses the app for Patreon. I don't know that many people that use Patreon in a massive way, but always use this because Apple is adding on a $30 or 30% extra fee to be in the Apple store. Anyway, it's a big thing. If you really use your app and you're an Android user, you're cool. But I always just give the URL for Patreon so you can really see what's going on and check it out in a big scale way. So keep doing that. You won't have any problems. $5 and $10 a month, though, get you a shout out. $10 gets you on the Livewire side, gets you a access to the old school Portal 47. Old school, they're still all valid. Wonderful years of earlier behind the scenes creatives interviews. Some of them going on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, you don't get that in magazine interviews or in convention appearances even. Of course, if it's Tuesday, that also means it's the Trek Files, and we've got another visit with my old friend, colleague, and boss. This time talking about covering Star Trek V. It's the 35th anniversary. Dan Madsen is who I'm talking about. And Dan joins me with a call sheet from the first day of the shoot of Star Trek V and talks about what it was like to deal with Shatner and cover him as his contact point and what fandom was thinking about Five, both before and after the premiere. So you don't want to miss that, especially at our new place at thetrekfiles.com at Memory Alpha, the all-in-one site with the document, with the audio player, and with easy access to all the hot links back inside Memory Alpha, including a whole database easily searchable now of the Trek Files. This is our 12th season. We have 2 seasons a year. That's 6 years, 24 episodes a season. We have old school episode seasons. Hey, everybody. Look, if you're looking for me elsewhere, please do like and subscribe right now on the YouTube. And otherwise, I'm still on X Twitter. Looking for a place to go after that at Larry Nemecek. Facebook, Instagram, especially Larry Nemecek's Trekland, just like the YouTube, and portal47.net. Stand by. It's getting to be open house time. You want to listen for that. Otherwise, thanks so much for being here. Again, watching us now, leave a comment. And try to join us live some Tuesday at 1-ish Pacific, 4-ish Eastern. And even 9-ish UK time and 10-ish Central Europe. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you back next Tuesday or when you find me again on YouTube. And until then, stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke. Oh my God, we're being flooded with so much crap, so much fake, paid off, trolling body stuff. Just remember, if you're suddenly seeing a slew in all your video feeds and channels, there's a reason for that. And it's all people who aren't famous and people you don't know, but act like you should immediately accept everything they tell you. Like I always say, check the sources. And Trek well, everybody.